Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. My name is Mobby, and today I'm going to show you my deck list for the Vivi red-blue deck. Now we're going to go over the whole deck. I'll show you all the cards. I'll talk about the play style, the early, mid, late game, the strengths, weaknesses, the deck cost as of 2023, and cards that you can replace or take out altogether. So let's begin and quick talk about the leader just in case you don't know who Vivi does. So this leader cannot attack red, blue, 5. Once per turn, you can pay 2. You don't have to rest this character or anything. You draw 1 card and one of your characters gains rush. So you have to have the character on the field before you can use the rush ability, or you can just use it for a draw, but it does cost 2. It's a little expensive if you want to use it for that. So let's begin by going through all the cards. Now, how I look at the cards is I like to categorize them in different sets. You have your events, 2K counters, your attackers, and then your utility. So let's start with all of the different events that are in this deck. Let's start with this nice 1-cost Radical Beam in the English version of One Piece. This thing is limited to only 1. It's pretty good. I would primarily use it in almost every single red deck out there right now. So one counter, you get 2,000, which is pretty weak, but if you have 2 or less life cards, you get 4,000 power, which is not the worst, craziest requirements, and it has a decent trigger, so I run one of these. Now, we run 4 guard points here. This is almost a staple as well. It's in the middle of this Radical Beam or guard point. You use this late game, you use this any single time you have an extra Dawn you want to spare. 3,000 power for 1, it's really good. Once again, it's really good. Next up, we're running these 4 Gum Fire Fist Pistol Red Hawks. Now, these are great. 2 for 4,000 power. It's pretty staple, but it's a great removal. So KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 4,000 or less. That is a very, very strong removal and defense. The trigger is... it's pretty okay. Depending on what your opponent plays at that time, you can end up giving 10,000, power down to like, a huge 10 cost or even their leader. So these are the defensive sort of events of the game, of the deck. Next, we're going to move on to 2K counters. So by the way, just so you guys know, we're running 4, 8, 9 of these for this Vivi deck. Next, we're running a bunch of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 2K counters, a little on the low side, I will admit. However, it'll probably make up for these. But anyway, we have the Sanjis. So you may add 1 card from your life to your hand. This character gains 2,000 power, then give this character up to 2,000 rested Dawn. So if you do end up using him, he's 3,000 on regular. You hurt yourself a little bit to get 5,000, then give too much to 7,000. So, there you go. So running 2 of those Sanjis. Now we have 4 Brooks, 2 cost, 3 on play. Give up to 2 rested Dawns to leader or one of your characters. Now this doesn't matter what color it is, so you can use it either way. It's pretty versatile, pretty good card, very good 2K counter. Now we're going to run some Impel Down, and by the way, I didn't even mention it. This is a Impel Down / Strawhat sort of build. Alright, so Mr. 2, Bon Cure Bentham, 5/5, 2K counter. It's a little expensive, but we'll explain why we're using this. So Dawn 1, trash 1 card from her hand, place up to 1 character with the cost of 2 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. So it's good for removing like searchers or blockers, right? Continuous searchers, like the green Momonosuke and stuff like that. All right. And it has to go to the bottom of the deck. So a little bit weak that way, but it could potentially be an attacker. So there you go. These are the 2K counters that we are running. Now we're going to move on to our blockers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blockers. 8 blockers. Alright, so the first 2 we're going to look at is another Impel Down character, Mr. Galdino. 4/5/1 blocker. End of your turn, trash 1 card to set this character as active and pretty versatile that way. Running 2 of those. Now we're running 2 Jinbeis. 4/5, no counter. Blocker. Pretty, whatever, average blocker. But if it has 1 Dawn, on block, play 1 red card with the cost of 2 or less from your hand. So you can use these to play out your Tony Choppers or your Searcher Namis, which we will talk about later. Okay. Then, of course, you just have your basic Tony choppers. It's literally 1 mana. A blocker is always good. Honestly, 1-drop blockers are very, very, very strong. So, not much there. Just a nice Straw Hat one. So, there you go. These are the blockers of the deck. Next is the attackers. This is the bulk of the deck. This is your win condition. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We have 19 attackers in the deck. Now this is going to be ranging from early to mid to late game. So let's talk about the early game first. We have 3 Zoro cards. These are pretty strong, especially with the Vivi to give this rush. So basically 3/5, which is a great body on its own. If you give this 1 dot, he gets 1 extra damage, 1 extra power. So he'll be 6,000, 7,000. So 7,000 with just 1 mana. Now, if you want to pair this with the Vivi leader, if you want to rush this on the very first turn that you can, you have to have, you can use 5 mana, but you want primarily 6. So you can put the 1 on him. So you would get 2, draw, give him rush, boom. So 1 turn, pretty good damage, and draw. So these are your early game put on the board. Next up for the early game, we have 2 Nico Robins, 3/4/1 counter on attacking, KO up to one of your characters with 3,000 power or less. Very good for removing really cheap blockers. And once again, it has potential rush, pairs well with the VVs. We're running 2 of these. Next up for the mid game, I'm running 4 Impel Down Crocodiles, 5/7/1. It's a big body. It's Impel Down. We're running these. Next up, it's your mid game as well. Your Luffy's 6/7, no counters. This is on play and then when attacking, so you have 2 chances to activate this. So pretty much trash 2 cards from your hand, return up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to their hand. Then this character gains a double attack. So if you use it on play right away, you're not going to use the double attack unless you use it with the VV effect. But when it's attacking, you can use the double attack. So it's good removal, and it's a pretty good body. Especially when you pair it with your late game, Emporio Ivankov, 7 drops. So it's the same sort of body, but there's a reason for that, because the ability is pretty powerful. So on play, draw cards until you have 3 in your hand. So if you happen to go down to less than 3, this will bring you back up. And then play up to 1 blue Impel Down type character with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. So you want to pretty much get Ivankovs, and the best case scenario is you either get out your Luffy's or your Crocodiles. So basically he will search for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13, 14, 15, that's down in here, the rest of them. So it searches for 15 and it drops them right away. So this is your key. This is your key for the deck. All right. Now for the ultra late game, if you happen to keep going, I'm running 2 of these Monkey D. Luffy cards. 8, 9, Straw Hat, and Banish. Pretty good if you have if you have 10 mana, you use this, you drop it, and then you use Viva's ability, get a quick Banish attack in. Boom, so these are the attackers. All right, let's move on to the final category of the deck, which is the utilities. These just do random stuff that don't fit into here. So we have 6 searchers. I'm running 3 Namis. So this is an on-play one, 5 cards, Straw Hats. Every single card here is either a Straw Hat or an Impel Down, which does the same thing, but just for the Impel Down. So we're running 3 of these and 3 of these. So that is the deck list. Now for the play style. All right, so the early game. The early game with this, I would say, I would also categorize this. Is the music too loud? Let me turn it down just a little bit. All right, so this is a lower end experimental deck. It's not going to do well at locals. I wouldn't do that. I would play it with a friend and you can just keep messing with it. I've tried just straight Alabasta VVs and it's really underwhelming in my opinion. So we're just trying this one out for fun. I did play against what was it? I played against a Magellan purple deck, and yeah, we almost won. Didn't get there. But pretty much I know the weaknesses and strengths of this, and I will be able to tweak it later. So This deck, I would say it's overall balanced. You can do the early game, you got the mid game, and you have a little late game. It doesn't excel in either one, but we'll talk about the first game. The first, you want to go first or second, either is fine. Pretty much you always want to get your searchers, search for your Impel Down cards for late game, your Ivankovs and your Luffys and your Crocodiles for early game, for late game. And if you got the Namis, you want to search for the early game stuff, such as the Zoros or the Nico Robins, so you can get some of that pressure on. Mid game, you want to primarily use Zoro and Crocodile for pressure, and also use your Red Hawk for removal and Nico Robin for removal. Then the late game, your big drops, so as mentioned, Ivankov and 8-drop Luffy. And pretty much here, you can use your leader ability. It's pretty interchangeable, but you can save it for your counters because you do have a lot of them, and you have good removal counters. Alright, so with that being said, let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses. First of all, good. As mentioned, a balanced deck. You can play it, in any sort of situation. It has good search results. With this sort of deck, anything you get, you're most likely gonna get a search. With 6 of these, it's definitely gonna hit. And it's a fun experimentation. Vivi is not really too well known to be out there in like high-end tournaments or anything like that. But if you can make it work, just mess around with this and have some fun. Now, let's talk about the cons. Big, huge con. Man, Vivi can't attack. It's so bad and terrible that Vivi can't attack. It's a huge, gigantic, big minus. And I think the leader ability, while it sounds good at first, it is very expensive for what it does. Cost 2 for a minimum of draw, let alone using the rush when you need to. But yeah, the rush is good if you have a lot of cards that capitalize on when you attack, so you actually get the chance to attack. But once again, it's counterintuitive because you want to use your extra mana that you would use for a draw or rush to either play something cheap or even save up for a counter. So you can play a deck that primarily gets rid of counters, and you can have just more attacking stuff. I do want to mess around with that because these are great. These are staples, like especially the guard point and the radicals. But if you're trying to use every single mana available, maybe it's better to just run more characters instead. But I have to do a lot more testing. So with that being said, let's check out the deck cost. Now, this is as of 2023. I have a spreadsheet here. In the description below, I will be putting down my spreadsheet so you can see this, and I'll put all the different decks I have here, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I will have more videos on the way, but you can see here this is the deck and we're using it. So the total is $58. It's a pretty cheap deck to make, and these are all TCG prices. And looks like the big standouts are the guard points, which are $362 each, and let's see, Brooks, which is $1.24, 2 Monkey D Luffy's, which is your secret rare 8-drops, and that's pretty much it. And the Namis. So everything else is like $1, very close to $1, and really, really cheap besides it. So this is a very cheap deck. It's a cheap, fun deck, and you're going to be grabbing a lot of extra staple cards so you can use in other decks. So you can grab the Namis, the Tony Chopper blockers, the guard points are good. These Sanjis are amazing, and then you have these ones which are a little versatile and Zoros, and the rest of them, Impel Down is really hard to use right now as of OP-04, so I'm not sure. But yeah, that is the deck. As mentioned, I tried it a little bit, had some fun, didn't win a lot, but I feel like if I just tweak it a little bit more, just maybe get rid of these, because once again, why play this leader if you're not going to try to capitalize on her ability? So who cares about the draw, which is great. If anything, man, I wish they would have made this a little different. Imagine a 1-cost rush giver. That's overpowered. The draw is great, but god, So the reason why Rebecca does well is because it's 1 cost. 1 cost, and you get to search for 2 cards, and you trash, and it fixes the engine. You get to keep going with the trash engine. Here, though, you're not always rushing every single turn. And the fact that you can't attack, it's just rough. So I hope, we can tweak this a little bit more. And when OP-05 comes out, I think there's a little more Alabasta cards coming out, so I might make something else. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and in the description I will be putting a list to this as well as my own collection. If you guys are interested, I have a spreadsheet that's view only, so you can see exactly what I have been collecting. You can see here I have like 4 or 5 of every single OP-04, which is amazing, and it'll also have a list to all my decks. And if you want even more information, I keep track of purchases on TCG Player, how long things take to get here, and what they gave me, and my top picks. So I like Crazy Nick's cards. It comes in like hella fast. So yeah, I'll be updating this and this all the time. Thank you so much for watching. This has been my very first deck list. So if you guys have any suggestions in the future for maybe the different kinds of things you would like covered, because I think I got most of the stuff right. How the cards play, it's analog, I'm not doing anything digital. And pretty much, as mentioned, I'm running everything physical. If I don't have it, I'm not going to put it in this deck list. And yeah, pretty cheap cost. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.